We don't have to worry about anything that transpired here. We can get through this. Together.
We made a decision. You're fired.
This is a class! How do you get banned from a class?
There's definitely quite a few ways.
How the hell am I supposed to show them that I've changed?
A kid's show. Seems like fun.
Be so for me right now. Do I look like the type of guy that could host a kid show? I can explain.
F this, I'm calling Bruce.
Go. That's done. Now bring it home.
Alright. Well, I have nothing left to lose. I've officially gotten to a point where I don't want to be in my apartment, and I can't be around here at normal hours, so I have to sneak in and act like there's not security cameras watching my every move. Let's get the show on the road, shall we? Franchises rise and fall like the sun. It's the natural order of things. A series of movies will come out, and eventually the story will wrap up. That last film will release, and the series will come to an end. However, some companies just can't help themselves. As we have painfully learned throughout the course of this show, all these companies care about is their bottom line. Yeah, Hollywood isn't satisfied with just one major success. If they could pump out as many of this successful thing, they're going to do it. However, this could lead to a phenomenon that I'm going to call the fall off. Think of it like your food going past its expiration date. Sure, it may still be edible in some cases, but 9 out of 10 times, even if it is edible, it ain't gonna be nearly as good as what it once was. So, yeah, that's the episode. We're gonna be studying the fall off and, more importantly, talk about which franchises have become a victim of it. So, I feel like I should discuss an elephant in a room, and I don't really want to, but this should be talked about, all things considered. So, Madden. Michael! Madden NFL is a franchise that I grew up with personally. I always played these games as a kid, as a big football fan myself. I say wearing a Yankees cap. However, even as a kid, with each new installment, the games became harder and harder to enjoy. This is due to a few reasons, the big one being how the gameplay progressively got worse over time. There are also so many different features and game modes that EA has removed over the years that were even in the PS2 era games. Sometimes they get brought back, but there are still an abundance of modes and features that have still remained absent to the franchise to this day. It is also very hard to justify buying the new ones, as despite the marketing claiming how different this game is going to feel, at its core, it's the same Madden game that we've gotten for basically the past decade. What's worse is that there's no competition, as EA signed a deal with the NFL to make Madden the only simulation-style licensed NFL game, bringing the death of the beloved NFL 2K series. As of right now, Madden will be the only simulation-style NFL game until 2030, meaning fans are stuck with Madden until negotiations resurface, and even then, you'll still just get Madden, most likely. And since we're already going down the rabbit hole of video games, I want to bring an honorable mention, or maybe a dishonorable mention, to Xbox. The first Xbox released in 2001, and over time, the brand became the biggest rival to Sony's PlayStation, with the Xbox 360 being a massive success and giving Microsoft some much-needed legitimacy in the video game landscape. However, releases like the Xbox Kinect and Microsoft initially announcing that the Xbox One would need to be connected to Wi-Fi all the time in order for it to function properly, and also the Xbox One at launch coming bundled with the Kinect when nobody wanted it. It created a lot of rough PR for Microsoft that contributed to the PS4 beating the Xbox One in pretty convincing fashion. The One was still a pretty good success, though, and Microsoft had the opportunity to bounce back with the Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S. And might I just add that the naming scheme for these consoles probably contributed to the fall. Lack of true exclusives, Xbox dual focus on PC and console releases, Microsoft releasing the few exclusives that they did have on other consoles, the Series X and S getting price increases, Game Pass getting a price increase, and it becomes no secret as to why nobody really cares about Xbox anymore, with people believing that they are becoming closer and closer to going the route of Sega and stopping manufacturing consoles altogether and fully becoming a third-party developer. A new Xbox is actually already announced to be coming, but who knows how it's even going to do. All right, that was honestly too many games for my liking. Games are my brother's thing. Let's move on to the thing that I've constructed this show on in the first place. Shitting on Disney! That's right, this entire episode is created as my excuse to finally explain the real reason why I'm always dunking on this company. This company has created a lot of my favorite movies and owns a lot of my favorite franchises. However, the way they handle these properties is the entire reason as to why we're even having this conversation in the first place. So, before this headache gets worse, let's dive into my absolute worst enemy on this entire show. Let's talk about Walt.
Do you not know what to cook in the morning? Are you confused about food? Do you eat the same thing every day? Well, now you don't have to. Don't be like that guy. Come on down to the Cooking Club. Cooking Club is the place to learn how to make great food and connect with great people. Look how good that looks. Meetings are every Tuesday at 6 p.m. in Kent. Join the Cooking Club today.
Let's begin with the thing that made Disney so big in the first place, Walt Disney Animation Studios. Disney's animated films are the bread and butter of the company and their overall brand. It's what they were built on and what most people know them for, I hope. The studio has had peaks and valleys where they'll have a good run for a decade and then the next they would struggle a bit. The biggest example of a peak for Disney would be the 1990s and what fans dubbed the Disney Renaissance era. A time where Disney dropped hit after hit with stunning visuals, fantastic and timeless stories, and memorable characters and music, as the 90s brought in the Broadway musical style that Disney has continued to lean on for some of their films. This helped make Disney the juggernaut that they are today, if they weren't already. While there have been great movies in the past, so many of these films from the 90s have been in many people's top 10 animated films of all time. One of their notable flop decades, however, would be the decade afterwards, the 2000s. Now, there were some hits in this decade. I'd be remiss to bring up Lilo and Stitch. However, this decade was defined by general confusion within the company, as with the rise of CGI films and with studios like Pixar and DreamWorks, which at the time, Pixar only had their films distributed by Disney, they weren't owned by them yet, audiences felt like Disney was falling behind. So, Disney locked in, clocked in, and released Chicken Little. Needless to say, Disney's 2000 releases didn't really move the needle that much, and right now we are dealing with a similar drop-off that we had back then. Disney came off of a really successful decade where they were the undisputed top dogs, but now, despite some good, they're lagging behind the competition, with Sony Animation of all teams leading charge. With a new over-reliance on sequels and the abundance of mediocre films in their 2020 catalog, Disney Animation has found themselves in a predicament where they once again need to rediscover what made them great in the first place. And 2 more Frozen films is not how you do that. Quick question, do you know what this is? I'm not gonna ignite this thing for legal purposes. I've gotten in enough trouble already. This is just a prop, again, for legal reasons. This is a lightsaber, one of the most iconic fictional weapons in all of history. Star Wars is one of the biggest franchises in the world, and that's a fact. Between the films, TV shows, games, and merchandise, Star Wars is massive, and it wasn't even supposed to be. However, the way the first film transformed filmmaking and special effects, as well as its gripping story, allowed it to become the blockbuster franchises that it became. Star Wars is far from perfect though. The prequel trilogy from the 2000s was seen as ruining the franchise by a majority of the fan base at the time, and even now is still looked at as, for the most part, a step down from those original films, even with more people coming around to them. Though, this is partially due to the sequel trilogy being looked at as worse than the prequels somehow. When Disney brought the franchise along with the rest of Lucasfilm, George Lucas, the creator of the franchise, did not come with it. And the next era of the franchise would move forward without him. This was a W, right? After all, Lucas ruined Star Wars with those awful prequel films, so surely this would only benefit the brand, and oh my gosh! The Force Awakens, retread of The New Hope. The Last Jedi tries too hard to subvert expectations. The Rise of Skywalker, somehow Palpatine returns. People really turned on the sequels with The Last Jedi specifically, a movie that had so much promise, but ruined it with some questionable decisions. The Rise of Skywalker attempted to finish the trilogy with a bang and get things back on track.
Somehow Palpatine returned.
Nowadays, Star Wars only releases TV shows on Disney+, and we haven't gotten a feature-length film since 2019, though we are, I guess, supposed to be getting The Mandalorian and Grogu soon, I guess. These projects have been met with mixed reception, as the franchise has arguably released more bad and mediocre projects than truly good ones.
Somehow Palpatine.
Now, let's talk about the brand that I've become most familiar with. Now, Marvel is one of the few brands on here where, from a filmmaking standpoint specifically, they really only started off with bad films. Fun fact, Howard the Duck was the first theatrically released Marvel movie. Let that sink in. Marvel's 90s output consisted of made-for-TV pilots, a Fantastic Four film that was really only made to retain the film rights to characters that was never even released. And I think this Captain America film was made for theaters, but for many reasons, I surely hope not. However, Marvel as a company was going through a fall-off of their own, as the company went bankrupt and they had to sell the film rights to their most popular characters to other companies. This led to a superhero movie revolution, actually, with movies like Blade, X-Men, and Spider-Man helping put Marvel at the forefront of the public consciousness. However, these films were made by other companies like Sony and Fox. So, what was Marvel themselves actually doing? Marvel, along with producer Kevin Feige, took an ambitious gamble as they wanted to create a shared universe with all their characters. However, because of their now limited pool, Marvel had to rely on a superhero that wasn't nearly as popular as some of their other superstars. This was Iron Man. Most people didn't really know about him at the time, even some massive comic book fans. There are many stories about the production of this movie, but what you need to know right now is that somehow, some way, the gamble paid off. Iron Man was a massive hit, and it alone set the stage for what would eventually become the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Disney bought the rights to Marvel right before the release of The Avengers, and together the team at Marvel Studios would create what would end up becoming the biggest film franchise of all time. Marvel went on a generational run, and over time they would introduce more characters, both well-known and obscure, as well as introducing some of those lost characters back to their lineup, even if some of those deals were fishy. See Spider-Man with Sony. Disney buying Fox in 2019 set the stage for Marvel to get the vast majority of their characters back, which meant that there was only one thing left to do: keep the momentum going. This would be difficult for 3 reasons. The first being Avengers Endgame concluding 11 years worth of storytelling. The second being COVID, and the third being Disney Plus. Again. Not only was Marvel forced to make content in the midst of a global pandemic, but they would also have to make content for Disney's new streaming service, and this focus on quantity led to many projects suffering. The writing got worse, the CGI got noticeably worse, and the overall vibe of the MCU just did not feel the same. Mind you, this is a Marvel that has access to almost every single character in their catalog, with the only holdouts being the wider Spider-Man mythos and the Hulk, who just isn't allowed to get solo projects anymore, and She-Hulk does not count. It's extremely depressing, and with DC having their own rough patch at this time, audiences were left with little superhero projects to be excited about, leading to a fall off of the entire genre for a while, with some pretty significant exceptions, mind you. Marvel recently has had some good movies, with Thunderbolts and Fantastic Four First Steps, though bringing in the money has continued to be a struggle. Doomsday should fix that though, as it's the return of the Avengers for the first time in years, but that means there's no reason why this film should not make $1 billion. Now, all of these, as mentioned, happened under the Disney umbrella, and it's really just sad at this point. The company that has contributed to a large chunk of the global population's childhood memories has become a shell of its former self. The thing is, there's not much more that I can say that I didn't already say at some point. I discussed the remakes and reliance on sequels. They don't care about animation anymore. Now apparently they want to introduce AI content or just AI in general to their streaming service. Like, I just feel bad for the people who actually help make these projects, because they put in so much effort into all of these only for them to be looked at in this way. Even ESPN these days is struggling. It just sucks that this company had so much goodwill with the audience, and now all of that is just gone. It kind of sounds like what's going on with me right now, if I'm being completely honest. And I'll tell you right now, I don't fucking get it. I've tried everything at this point, and nothing has even worked remotely at all. I don't know what I need to do anymore. I don't understand why I have to suffer like this. I wasn't in control. I didn't do all those things. None of that was ever my fault. It wasn't me. What the hell happened? Did somebody walk in, or... Wait. No, not again.
Failure, asshole. You'll never be forgiven.
What the hell? No. Alright, hold up. I've done this before. I know what I have to do. Good commentary. Though, wouldn't you say our points are becoming a bit redundant? Whoa! Give me one. Give me one reason why I should stab you right now! If you kill me right now, you'll suffer a mental shutdown, which will inevitably lead to your own demise. That's just video games. This entire scenario is from a video game. You said it by name yourself a while ago, but go ahead. Test your luck. What do you want? Here to berate me again? Huh? Tell me about myself? Oh, you do that enough yourself. No. Believe it or not, I'm actually here to help. Right, because that worked so well last time, didn't it? Yeah, okay, fine. I'll just cut to the chase then. I'm also here because you broke your promise. What are you talking about? Last semester when we met here, you promised me that we would deal with this as together. What I got from that was that we deal with the consequences of the situation as one. I assumed that with that meant you accepted me. And then I woke up here again. What are you talking about? I accepted you! Yeah, okay, so acknowledging that I'm you is a lot different from accepting that I'm you. Yeah, I'm done playing Persona games.
Liar. Incapable.
Okay, what is up with these voices? Is this you or are these other me's again? Oh, yeah, no, that's not me, and it's not other versions of us either. No. That is all you. What? The entire reason why I did what I did was because of your voices. The self-deprecating, the berating. I had to hear that the entire time when I first awoke. And I couldn't bear it anymore. So, naturally, I took over. And I tried to get you out of that stressful situation. What I didn't account for was the reason why you stuck with it, the reason why you kept going. I made that fatal mistake, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
No hope. There's nothing you can do. You failed. You couldn't do it. You'll never be able to succeed. You will lose everything again. You can't run.
I have a pretty good idea of what you're probably thinking, but would you like to get it off your chest first? I did everything right this time. I didn't have what I had here back at home. Not the friends or the community or the freedom. This was everything I'd wanted. And it's all gone. I have to start right from square one, all over again. I learned to live with the stress and the imposter syndrome because at the end of the day, I knew I had what I wanted. And then all of it was gone because all this happened. And it was taken as soon as it was given. The reason why I can't fully accept you is because to accept that you're me, it would mean admitting that I failed. And I don't know if I have it in me to do that. Yeah, coming to terms with that is hard. I sat in this void reflecting on what I did with no one else to talk to. I had to hold myself back to avoid a repeat of last time. The hardest part about all of this has been watching you stumble over yourself and collapsing over this, over what I had done. What I had to learn is how to own up to it and learn from it. I don't want to keep doing this. We've accomplished so much, and I know we can fix this the right way. How? We've been through so much shit in the past, and each time we pushed through and became better people because of it. Look, we're still young, and we're always gonna make mistakes, but taking accountability from them and learning from them, that's growing up. No more running, no more hiding, no more lies. Nowhere to go but up. We finished this the right way. How will we know we won't mess up again? We won't? Right.